I'm Dustin Cormier, and this is the How to Rock Astrology audio series. The information in this recording is copyrighted by Dustin Cormier, 2015, all rights reserved, except where noted in the recording. The following information on ascendant or rising signs comes from Stephen Arroyo's Chart Interpretation Handbook, copyrighted in 1989 by Stephen Arroyo, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California. I do not own the following content. Guidelines to interpreting the ascendant. Although the ascendant is of deep and pervasive importance for each individual, there is no denying that it must be related to the rest of the chart, and especially to the sun sign, in order to understand it thoroughly for a particular person. The sun, after all, is the core identity, the very center of the consciousness, the way we assimilate much of our experience, whereas the ascendant, although it varies in importance from person to person, is not as central to the person's nature. It shows, among other things, the approach to life, but the sun shows life itself. The ascendant must serve the purposes, values, and creative goals of the sun for the individual to function happily and fully. A useful tool for understanding how a person's ascendant and sun sign interact is to compare the elements of the two factors. For example, a Cancer sun sign person with a fire sign rising is usually far more extroverted, forcefully expressive, and confident than a Cancer sun individual with, say, a more conservative, self-protective earth sign rising. For another example, an air sign sun person with a water sign rising may appear much more emotional than he or she really is, whereas a water sign sun person with an air sign rising may appear far more detached and less emotional than he or she really is. It should be pointed out that people are often relatively unaware of their ascendant nature as compared to their sun sign. In that sense, the ascendant is a factor that can be consciously developed further over time and consciously utilized to aid one's self-expression. I've known people who are relieved to find what their rising signs were, since it finally gave them a way of identifying a very deep but only semi-conscious tendency in themselves. In some cases, the qualities and abilities symbolized by the ascendant were just beginning to emerge, and learning the astrological keys to this factor helped personal development greatly. I should emphasize here that perhaps more than with most other factors in the chart, the early environment can encourage or suppress the expression of the ascendant's energies, since it is a primary channel with which one interacts with the outer world. The reader should view the following comparative evaluations as guidelines and as questions to explore, rather than as rigid statements of absolute truth. Gemini Modality or Quadruplicity. The Gemini Modality is mutable, the flexible energy mode. There are exactly 4 of these flexible signs in the zodiac belonging to the mutable modality. These include Sagittarius, Pisces, Gemini, and Virgo, and they all share similar characteristics. All 4 of these signs exhibit more of an ability to lighten up and go with the flow than the other 8 signs of the zodiac. They're typically more light and lively, and more apt to entertain new ideas, even if they sometimes lack the concentration needed to always get to the bottom line. These flexible signs share the challenge to be more deliberate and focused, to be willing to slow down enough to avoid confusion or miss the point. The element of the ascendant. The element of the ascendant reveals the quality of energy flow directly vitalizing the physical body and the overall approach to life. Fire or air signs rising tend to conduct energy, encouraging active self-expression and dynamic expenditure of energy. Earth or water rising signs tend to conserve and resist the flow of vital energies, and hence indicate self-containment, sometimes self-repression, and the tendency of living within oneself. Air signs rising, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Mentally quick and active, inquisitive, social, friendly, verbal. Often clever with rapid perceptions. Can be overly intellectual to the point of chronically debating everything inwardly without taking action. Wants to understand everything. Lives a lot in the world of concepts. Has a natural facility for communication and perceiving others' viewpoints. Gemini Ascendant or Gemini Rising. the most inquisitive and friendly rising sign, but also the one most inclined to be worried about oneself all the time, except perhaps Libra rising in some cases. Usually very intelligent and curious, and has a tremendous need to communicate verbally. The superficiality so often seen in Gemini Sun is not usually as evident in the Gemini Ascendant, but the tendency for one side of the mind not to know what the other side thinks or says is often even more extreme in the Gemini Ascendant, which can be most infuriating to those who would like to rely on the person and believe what he or she says. The person is not intentionally dishonest, it is just that the right hand knows not what the left hand is doing. I should also state, however, that I have encountered at least 2 Gemini rising people who are very reliable. The following information comes from Isabel Hickey's classic text, Astrology, A Cosmic Science, copyrighted in 1992 by Isabel M. Hickey Trust, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California. I do not own the following content. Gemini on the Ascendant. Sense of duality strong. 2 personalities in one body fighting for control. Indecisive and unsure. Friendly, adaptable, witty, and clever. Extremely nervous and high-strung. Temperamental. Appear confident, but lack confidence and inner sureness. People make them nervous, but they love an audience, for they love to talk. Talk with their hands as well as with their tongues. Make good conversationalists, writers, and reporters. Function from their minds and are very active mentally. Good dispositions when they are calm and serene within. Note position by sign and house and aspects of Mercury to know how this personality projects itself into the outer world. The following information comes from The Secrets of Your Rising Sign by William Lamb with Webb Harris Jr., copyrighted by William Lamb in 2004, first published in the USA by Fair Winds Press in Gloucester, Massachusetts. I do not own the following content. Chatty-faced, "Hi, how you doing? Where you from? I been there. See you later." Jitterbug Gemini is the icing on the cake of the zodiac. People with Gemini rising are sincere and unassuming, adept at making other people feel comfortable in their presence, just genuinely nice folks. From their early years, they're incredibly curious, annoying adults with endless questions. What's this? What's that? Why? Their inquisitive nature usually leads them to an interest in books and learning that follows them into adulthood. These people are inherently agile and capable of juggling 2 or 3 tasks at once. They're quick-minded and fond of displaying intelligence. Physical type, a youthful appearance. Favored colors, pale yellow, light gray. The following information comes from Isabel Hickey's Astrology, A Cosmic Science, copyrighted in 1992 by Isabel M. Hickey Trust, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California. The significance of the Sun and the Sun sign in astrology. The symbol of the Sun in astrology is a circle with a dot in the middle. This is a very deep occult spiritual symbolism. The circle represents the eternal self that did not start here and does not finish here on earth. The dot in the middle represents the divine spark at the center of every living cell, the light which lighteth every man which cometh into the world. It is the point of light at the center of every living cell. In the blueprint, the sun represents the main expression of the individual, the heart and core of beingness. The sun has a different effect on individuals born at different times of the year. According to the sign and house in which the sun is placed, we are able to judge the general vitality and physique, the qualities of leadership, and the individual's ability to succeed in life. In a personal chart, the sun represents the basic drive for significance, the will, male relationships and female charts, especially with the father, vital energy coming from the etheric levels and prana, fuel on which the total personality operates, urge for power, constitutional strength, and finally, a powerful sun means very great power to do and to be. Keywords of the sun: will, individuality, spirit. The sun is the significator of the spirit in man, the beingness or isness of life. It rules the basic drive for significance, the will to be. Physically, the sun is the sustainer of life, giver of light, heat, and energy. More than anything else in the chart, it shows the will, man's highest expression. Its aspects show deep character traits, the chief ambitions. It needs aspects to the planets for strength of expression in the horoscope. As the sun moves through the signs, its return to the sign of its exaltation, Aries, the eastern horizon, marks the beginning of the astrological year. Springtime brings the release of a new cycle of life. As the sun moves through the houses, its return to the eastern horizon is the beginning of the astrological day, sunrise. The sun sign in its element. The following information comes from Stephen Arroyo's Chart Interpretation Handbook, copyrighted in 1989 by Stephen Arroyo, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California. I do not own the following content. The sun sign's element is usually dominant in considering the overall psychology of a person. This is so because the sun sign's element reveals the attunement of one's basic vitality, identity, and power of self-projection, as well as the fundamental quality of his or her consciousness. The element of one's sun sign reveals the basic inner force motivating everything we do. The element of the sun sign also gives insight into how any individual sees life itself and what expectations they have of the life experience. Sagittarius Sun. Sagittarius is a fire sign. These are the common characteristics of people born with the sun in fire signs. Basically motivated by inspirations and aspirations. Recharges energy through vigorous, physically demanding activity and by pursuing new visions for the future. Interpretive guidelines for Sun and Sagittarius. Creative energy is directed towards one's ideals and aspirations, not only expressing them, but often promoting them to others. Sense of individuality is colored by one's ultimate beliefs and optimistic philosophical outlook. Essentially values wide-ranging mental and physical liberty. Radiates a friendly, exploratory, open spirit, very broad-minded, and values honesty. Needs to be recognized for moral, upright nature. Sometimes high standards can lead to intolerance and insensitivity to others. This final article comes from The Secrets of Your Rising Sign by William Lamb with Webb Harris, Jr., copyrighted by William Lamb in 2004, first published in the USA by Fair Winds Press in Gloucester, Massachusetts. I do not own the following content. Sagittarius, born around sundown. Sagittarius with Gemini rising. Sweet, optimistic Sagittarius, born at obliging I don't want to be alone dinner time, with an icing on the cake, Gemini personality. What's not to like here? These are among the most pleasant, people-pleasing individuals on the planet. They're always aware of how they're being received and are magicians at adjusting themselves to whatever situation is at hand. With a youthful appearance and a spry, quick-minded intelligence, they flit like hummingbirds from person to person and place to place, and from one quickly conceived idea to another, leaving people charmed by their unassuming good nature. They're genuinely interested in the people around them, and it shows. People usually give them the benefit of the doubt because they're so harmless and obviously well-meaning. Even when they mindlessly ramble with Gemini chatter, they're found to be entertaining rather than annoying. And when they ask for information that's none of their business, people seem to open up like blossoming flowers. They're apt to be especially interested in sports, from fishing to football, and in subjects with philosophical or religious overtones. They read up on the subjects that interest them and are always willing to share whatever information they have. Boy, are they willing to share whatever information they have. Oops, I hope we're not describing a loose tongue. These people are gifted journalists, professors, counselors, and chaplains. Their philosophical Sagittarius and their quick-minded, instructional Gemini give them a natural ability to inspire people with their intelligent information and enlightened ideals. They can be found wherever there's information to exchange. They excel as librarians, writers, and long-distance truck drivers who play the silver-tongued devil on the CB radio. There's probably a love of the outdoors here as well, and if their work doesn't take them outside, they'll probably be there in their leisure. But there's a need for more serenity. These folks are so high-strung that a rest-easy, all-is-well faith in life is all but totally absent. These insecurities run deep. They need to sit back, relax, and not overdo it with their short-term attention span and their tendency towards no-focus, willy-nilly behavior. Yes, they're sincere, and sure, they're charming, but everything has its limits. They need to avoid letting their loquacious and convincing manner be misinterpreted as fanaticism. And they need to be deliberate and do their homework when circumstances demand focus. If it's important to read the handbook before coming to the meeting, then they need to do just that, rather than show up unprepared and ready to bullshit their way through. If they're up to the challenge of being well prepared, these Sagittarians almost always persevere to victory.